So with the announcement of the UK Beyblade Championships and with the confirmation it will be played in Hasbro stadiums, I wanted to talk about some of the pre-existing meta combos and what I think could be changed to better suit Hasbro. So getting straight into things, known for its legendary 960 ball combo, Wizard Rod has been a staple in the meta, representing stamina types from day one of release. With Takara Tomi's extra stadium space, this combo will easily outspin any combo you can throw at it, consistently claiming 1-pointers in competitive matchups. While Hasbro does favour attack types, there's two changes we can make to better this combo. By adding 760 for the extra weight, along with a balance bit hexa, it turns Wizard Rod into a defense monster. The extra weight helps with reducing KOs since it's less prone to being bullied around, and with hexa reducing that burst risk, it just really brings the whole build together. And since Rod is Rod, stamina is still pretty top tier, even if slightly reduced from the added weight. The same logic can also be applied to Silverwolf, as when paired with Hexa, it just becomes a mini tank. And again, Silverwolf is already known for having really good stamina, so consistent outspins shouldn't really be a problem. In the Takara Tomy Stadium, Drumbuster is usually a hit or miss with most bladers. With its glass cannon capabilities and absolutely awful stamina, it makes using Buster a high risk play with quite often minimal or no reward. This is due to its insane imbalance due to its aggressive shape, making smooth contact with the stadium floor next to impossible. This results in awkward extreme dashes, unpredictable movement patterns, and some OG Capricorn jumps. And while there are ways to minimize this imbalance, there is still a high skill curve when it comes to using this bay, and that's simply just because of all the variables just mentioned in play. That said, in Hasbro, the smaller play area actually makes it so you'll most likely make contact before even locking the extreme rail, so you'll probably just make regular contact before doing a dash. So this makes glass cannon attack types even more viable, as getting that first big hit before losing too much stamina becomes even more frequent. This isn't to say Drumbuster is meta in Hasbro, but compared to TT, the change in play is way too big not to mention. The same can be said about Impact Drake, though arguably better due to the lack of imbalance, plus through Awakening during battles it hits harder and harder as time passes, and as well with less rubber you have the lesser risk of stamina drain. Aero Pegasus, the pay to win rare bay which already dominates the attack type category in TT stadiums, is kind of nerfed in Hasbro. And when I say kind of nerfed, I just simply mean it can't pocket jump due to how deep the pockets are in the Hasbro stadiums. However, everything else about this blade is same old. It's super wide, so it's still a struggle to pocket even without the rebound issues. It's super heavy, so it has a lot of force behind its attacks. If you stick it on level, it can counter spin still from Dragoon Elevate, so you should still just consider Aero as big of a threat as before. After Wizard Rod, I'd argue that Nightmare is probably the most versatile blade in the game. With its round but rough shape, it can hold a perfect balance between stamina and attack, and with customizing it, you can really max out the stat which suits your playstyle. It's one of those weird blades where no matter what combo you're against, you shouldn't really underestimate it. Some builds that I've seen work wonders in Hasbro are 980 Hexa, 160 Rush, 960 Point, and 760 Level. There are tons more, but you should 100% consider testing some of these, as the blade just works great as a counter to some of the more exclusive or hard to find options such as the rare bays, but also a really good counter against some of the more common and consistent builds such as Phoenix Wing. While spin stealing is technically at a disadvantage similar to Wizard Rod just due to the burst risk when running Elevate, it's definitely something to watch out for. Hasbro may buff attack types, but none of that matters if you can't make contact. If you can avoid the first 5 seconds of high RPM attacks, you should more than likely be able to outspin a point. Although if you want to decrease the burst risk all while keeping that spin stealing ability, it might be worth trying the level bit. With the extra width needed for LAD, along with a pretty extreme buff in attack strength due to the extra gearing, makes this combo an early game attacker but an end game spin stealer. It isn't as effective as Elevate, but it does allow you to keep some of the best features all while gaining some additional playstyle options. Phoenix Wing is a blade that, like Wizard Rod, has held its place in the meta since release, and even now can not only keep up with but outclasses new releases, making it a go-to choice for 3-on-3 deck building. And with the new mold being released, which now puts this up to near the 39 gram mark if you are lucky, basically on par with Impact Drake, it's definitely something I can see being used much more frequently in the future, just because it's the It's one of the most easily accessible releases and one of the better ones, with the potential need to only change the bit for it to perform way better than stock. The last thing I want to talk about is the new bit Low Rush. This bit doesn't just help with increasing ratchet sniping, but it will heavily assist blades that, while made for this purpose, have been neglected simply due to the current meta. For example, Shark Edge and Crimson Garuda. Shark Edge more specifically, just because it's been in competitive play basically since the start. If you pair it with Low Rush and 160, it just becomes a monster of an attack type. So if you don't own some of the heavier blades, or maybe some of the more exclusive blades, I think it's definitely worth giving these two a shot to use as an attack type in your deck, or at the very minimum maybe just experimenting with Low Rush on some more preferred blades, because it is definitely a bit that you should try testing out with. Now, these are just some thoughts I had and wanted to get out, but let me know what you think will be dominating the Hasbro scene in the UK Championships down in the comments below, and take care.
If you want to grow the old collection you found rotting away in the basement, or even from scratch, Base Station has you covered. Although Burst is over, they still stock a few select models along with Beyblade X and a ton of Metal Series Beyblades, from Metal Fusion all the way up until Fury. So if you're looking for a trusted and reliable source for Beyblades, check out basstation.com and use code SOLICAL for a discount at checkout.